Thank you for joining me on PBA FM. It's really great to see
Thank,
face
thank
to
you,
face, actually.
Sophia.
Yeah,
It's great. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
yeah, and I've actually discovered you since I started on community radio about 11 years ago. So that's how long I've been at it. But
Well, that's a good piece of time that you've
yeah,
been doing that. That's awesome. Are you talking about the Dead Daisies, of course?
yes, yes, of course,
Yes,
yes, yes.
yes.
And
Um,
yeah, I've read up quite a bit about you. But you've
right.
also, what we're really talking about is the album that you've got coming out.
Yes. Looking for trouble.
Yes, and the songs on it are they're all fantastic songs, and they're would you say a tribute to the original guys that started the blues in the first place? Because you've got a lot of great tracks on there.
Yeah, I would say that it's paying homage to the original artists that some, like for example, we're all influenced by bands like Led Zeppelin and
Yep.
Deep Purple and AC/DC and stuff like that. And but those guys were influenced by and the Rolling Stones too, especially. They discovered the the original blues artists, Muddy Waters, Robert Johnson, John Lee Hooker, all these people. And so we thought, actually, the record kind of came about as a little bit of um, as a happy accident. We were in the studio writing, and then we got the got the idea to start taking and having the liberty on some of these blues songs. And we thought, what a great way to pay homage to those guys that influenced our influences.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how that came about because a lot of I've looked at the list of songs and I've played them, and just about all of the songs that you have on this album, I have the originals on my playlist.
Ah, that's great.
That's how much it sort of means to me that the original guys actually started it, and you're going to, as you say, do a homage to the greats that started us out in this industry.
Yeah, yeah. Those are the we would actually be in the studio, and someone would say, "Hey, how about I'm ready?" John Corabi said, "Hi, how about I'm ready?" Okay, well, how do we want to do it? Well, let's listen to the original, and then let's just see what we might do to maybe put our stamp on it, to have our way with it a little bit, and because we thought the originals are so amazing. These songs, Crossroads, the not just the Robert Johnson, but the Cream version, and Ram Jam did a Black Betty version that's very famous. All these songs have great versions, and so we just figured, let's not copy those versions. Let's visit the original. That, for example, Crossroads or whatever,
Yeah.
and Robert Johnson's version um, that he did was really cool. And then we decided we'll listen to some other people's versions, and then we came up with our own groove that was a little bit more of like influenced by kind of Zeppelin or something,
Hmm.
and that's our take on Crossroads. And we actually even added a part because lyrically we wanted to basically explain, okay, this is why we're going down the crossroads, basically.
Hmm.
But we were really having fun with it, and
Yeah.
we were able to just everyone threw out a song, and we'd go through it, we'd try it, we'd put our stamp on it, and then we recorded it, and it's pretty much live with the exception of a couple of vocals.
Yeah. Yeah. As I say, when you put your own spin on it, is it hard to put your own spin on such a classic track?
It started with us a lot of times with the groove, and we went in the studio with Sarah Tomac, and she is a Nashville session drummer. We were actually with her writing in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, and then every day at the studio, they would be doing tours talking about all the blues artists that lived in the area and had recorded there, and that's how we kind of got the idea to do it. And then we'd talk to Sarah, hey, let's do let's let's hit this thing like a little different. Like the thrill is gone. We did it in a 6/8 feel versus the traditional straight feel, which basically gave it a little bit more of a sadness or something. And that led to us coming up with a new part to add at the end of the song, a descending line. It was just as add-on, but it was all just really off the cuff and fun, and that's how those guys recorded. I mean, that's why you listen to those Robert Johnson tapes, for example, and
Mm.
he's got several versions of all the same songs, because he would do it, and then he'd come back another day and do a different version of it, and they're all, three or four different versions of Crossroads or Hellhounds on My Trail or
Yeah,
Mean Woman Blues.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because would you class yourself as he- heavy rock? Would
Yeah, I would say we're blues based heavy rock. I mean, we're definitely have a big Ozzy influence because of David Lowie, and
that's right.
the band was started there. So David was heavily influenced by all the Australian artists, and then later worked with some of those artists as well, and but like bands like Rose Tattoo, is a
Yes,
classic
yes,
Australian sound, pub rock, and
yeah,
simple rock. AC/DC, obviously everyone knows it. The Angels
hmm
and Jimmy Barnes, all these artists were definitely in the fabric and the blueprint of the band in the beginning, and we try to maintain
mm.
that thread.
Yeah. It's amazing how it all started. Quite, in little old South Australia with all of the immigrants that came over, and look at all the wonderful things that they've done. Like you say, there's Jimmy and his brother John Swan and ACDC. They've all come. They're because I've spoken to quite a few of them, and
Yeah,
they all live in the same area, like where I live, and they all grew up together, and they all reminisce about the ones that are still with us, about how they started and how they just were, how it all just rolled out into what it is today, they're just such classics. So
that's right. Yeah,
great
I
thing.
mean, it's a great history that Australia has with rock and roll. Um,
It is.
it's unique, and so we many times when we're writing and stuff. I think on our last album we did a couple of we went off a little bit into a little bit of a new direction in a couple songs,
Hmm.
but we definitely want to keep that pub rock sound, that Australian pub rock thing. And that's the songs like on Looking for Trouble, songs like Going Down.
Yes.
It's got a lot of 16th notes,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that really related to David a lot, David Lowie, and songs like Little Red Rooster was, I think, one of the first songs that he ever learned. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it was like revisiting a lot of good memories, and